Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio, so today we're going to be looking at Butterfree. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to take another look at the Butterfree that came out rather recently in Sun and Moon. So not that recently, but moderately recently. I'm still counting it, gosh darn it. And actually looking, hang on a second, could this be pretty good? Now, the inspiration from this video came from a lovely chap called David Jones, who hit me up on Twitter and said, "Hey, Wassy, I just watched a video from Sack or Scoop about a Butterfree budget deck that I would love for you to check out." So I went and had a quick look at the Sack or Scoop video. I'll pop a link to that one in the description. And if I forget, please hit me up in the comment, because, well, it's only polite, isn't it? So, Butterfree. Let's start off looking at Butterfree, and it's an okay Pokemon. Nobody's going to look at this Pokemon and go, "Oh my god, it's amazing!" But hopefully there are surrounding factors that make us go, wait a second. So Butterfree is a Stage 2 grass Pokemon. Of course, we've lost Forest of Giant Plants. It's been rotated out of Standard, and it's been banned and expanded. We no longer have Forest of Giant Plants to evolve Butterfree whenever we want it, though more on that in a moment. For 1 colourless energy, 30 damage, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is paralysed. For 3 energy, 80 damage, your opponent switches their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. So Psybolt is pretty good if you can flip ahead, 30 damage plus paralysis, but we can work on this. Whirlwind, 80 damage and forces your opponent to switch their active. We are working on a disruption deck here. Now we're hoping this can be more of a budget deck. We are going to talk about the budgetness as we go through, although, and I'm going to go through this properly at the end, it's still going to be better with Tapu Lele, and I'm really sorry about that. So in terms of weakness, the weakness to fire is a bit of an issue with Volcanion running around, although 130 HP is pretty nice. And hitting for grass weakness is fine, it's not amazing at the moment, but there's a chance Lycanroc is going to see a little more play, and Rockruff is weak to grass, so that could be fun. We like the single energy attachment here. We like that we can attack for 1 energy. We don't like the fact that it's a Stage 2. But then again, I told you we lost Forest of Giant Plants. Well, let me share the good news, ladies and gentlemen. If you're willing to dip into the expanded format, we have got a Caterpie with Adaptive Evolution from Flashfire, which can evolve whenever it darn well feels like it. And if we stay in Flashfire, we've got a Metapod with Adaptive Evolution, which can evolve whenever it darn well feels like it. And if you're thinking, hang on a second, Ross, I thought this was a standard format deck, why are you talking about expanded, why would you do that to us? Oh wait, they were both totally reprinted in Generations, which is still tournament legal. So we've got a Caterpie and a Metapod, which allow us to evolve this Butterfree whenever we feel like it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is wonderful, because now you can potentially get Butterfree going on the first turn of the game. You evolve Butterfree up, you're looking pretty good, and then 30 damage. You go second, Caterpie, Metapod, Butterfree, 30 damage, plus paralysis. That sounds good. Remember, on the very first turn of the game, you're not allowed to attack going first, but after that, if you go second, you can attack going first. And this really is where Butterfree shines. Now, maybe you want to play a double colourless energy so that the following turn, you can just attach a double colourless, hit for 80 and make them switch. And you need to be aware of this. The second attack is pretty good here. I would play some double colourless in this particular deck for that reason. But generally here, we like the idea, single prize Pokemon can evolve straight up to a Stage 2, attach 1 energy. So we've got the dual threat here of get it going in a single turn and giving up 1 prize. The downside is 30 damage is very, very low. So we've got a couple of cards to help us deal with this. Firstly, we have got the Victini that came out in Guardians Rising with the ability Victory Star. Victory Star means that when you use a coin flip for an attack, you get to reflip it. Just I don't know, because, just to be nice, just to be friends. So now that 50% chance of paralysis using Butterfree's attack actually turned into a 75% chance of paralysis. 3 out of 4 turns you are going to be paralyzing your opponent. And yeah, they can play Ace Roller to pick up the Pokemon, and that's annoying. And yeah, they can play a Guzma, and that also acts as a switch, so they can switch the Pokemon out of the active. I get that, and of course they've got Tapu Lele to search for these supporter cards. This is bad, boo-hoo, etc. But the most important thing here is, you are forcing them to use their supporter for the turn to switch or to pick up their Pokemon. Maybe they're playing Switch or Escape Rope, but go and look at a whole bunch of recent deck lists. Most people are playing Guzma, Ace Roller, and Floatstone. They are the switching cards they're playing. Some people are playing Switch and Escape Rope, but not that many. And even when they are, it's in very small numbers. So even if your opponent is picking up their Pokemon or switching out, they're still not playing a supporter card to draw a card. Let's say you paralyze a Gardevoir. Fine, your opponent can pick up the Gardevoir with an Ace Roller, but they better have another Gardevoir waiting in the wings. And actually, as a side note, with Gardevoir here, because you've only got 1 energy on you and you're a non-GX, it's going to take 5 energy total, 4 for them, to get a 1-hit KO on a Butterfree for a single prize, while you're paralysing them 3 out of 4 turns. The other option we've got here is the everyone thought it was going to be great, maybe one day it will be great, please be great, darn it, why isn't it great? Lurantis promo card that has the ability meaning that the attacks of all your grass and fire Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Lurantis could be a lot of fun here. Now, although we don't really miss Forest of Giant Plants with Butterfree because we've got Adaptive Evolution, we do miss Forest of Giant Plants with Lurantis here, because you now have got to be waiting a turn in order to evolve up. But it's only a stage 1, it's not the end of the world. Let's say you get 2 Lurantis on the bench, well now that 30 damage turns into 70 damage, you add a Choice Band to an EX or a GX, you're doing 100 damage, that is actually enough to 1-hit KO something like a Lycanroc, but more importantly, you're 2 to 3 hit KOing, while paralysing 3 out of 4 turns, at which point this becomes really quite nice indeed. And that really is the basis of the deck. Butterfree with Lurantis to add damage and Victini to give you an extra chance to get that paralysis rolling, although don't forget about the second attack and do consider double colourless. There are some other cards we really want to consider here though. First of all, Revitalizer is too gosh darned good in this deck. Just being able to grab 2 grass Pokemon out of the discard into your hand, especially when combined with Adaptive Evolution, you can play a Revitalizer, pick up a Caterpie and a Metapod, play them both down, then evolve with a Butterfree you got from your hand, and boom, off you go, ladies and gentlemen. You are rolling. You could even consider playing some extra ball cards like Nest Ball to get your basics out, and Timer Ball, which becomes so much better because of Adaptive Evolution. Flip 2 coins for each head, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon, put it in your hand. But the key thing here is that you've got Adaptive Evolution, so it becomes so much better. Let's say you start with a Caterpie. Use a Timer Ball, flip a double heads, that Caterpie immediately turns into a Butterfree. I know that Timer Ball isn't a card which is played in a lot of decks, but in this deck it becomes super good. Although you still do need Bridget for the turn 1 Wonder Tag with Tapu Lele, and Ultra Ball because it's still the best Pokemon search that we've actually got. And while we're here, let's talk about Tapu Lele. You're going to need to use Tapu Lele. The turn 1 Wonder Tag for Bridget is too good. Like in pretty much every deck, I'd probably play 2 or 3 Tapu Lele, but this is a deck where you could get away with only playing a single copy. That would work here. You could just play 1 Tapu Lele and you would be okay, which is really quite funky here. It might hurt in the mid to late game, but you could get away with 1 just for the turn 1 Wonder Tag. Because the other thing is here, you are really relying on your non-GX single prize Pokemon Butterfree is your main attacker here, and as a side note, play 3 or 4 Revitalizer, you are really going to need recovery, because you really want them to KO 6 Butterfree to win the game. You're going to need to be recovering Caterpie, Metapod, and Butterfree, and as another side note, you don't really want Rare Candy in this deck, because you want to be able to just evolve up as and when. Like how when Forest of Giant Plants was out, nobody really played Rare Candy with Decidueye, because Forest of Giant Plants was just better. But once we get past Tapu Lele, we've got some other options. You could consider Oranguru, you could also consider Octillery. If you're playing Timeable, you can search for it with that. Although you're evolving enough with Butterfree, so there is an argument here to play Oranguru, just because it's a basic and you can spend your time evolving the Butterfree instead. But the last question to really be answered with this deck is, what do you want to do in terms of energy? Because you'll notice that Butterfree here is all colourless energy. So you don't need to play any grass energy. Now, what you could do here is play absolutely any energy you feel like, just to try and stop whatever deck you're scared of. So let's say you're worried about a fire deck, then maybe you play a couple of water energy and you play the Alolan Ninetales from Burning Shadows, because like I've said, you want to be playing a couple of double colourless anyway, because double colourless helps if you want to use a second attack on Butterfree, but it will also pay for the first one. Then you get Luminous Barrier to shut down GXs or EXs. It will give you some nice options against other Pokemon decks. I'm a big fan of playing Water Energy and Alolan Ninetales here. And if you really wanted to go silly, you could even go Aqua Patch, although I think that might be going just a little bit too far. As you're playing Victini anyway, you could just play Fire Energy, so that you can attack with Victini, and then you could play the Baby Volcanion Haynix so that you can accelerate that energy if you want to while doing a bit of damage with a fire Pokemon for a single energy. And if you play Fire Energy, then you open yourself up to being able to use Scorched Earth, which is another really good way of drawing cards. And to round this up, if we're talking about a budget deck with 0 or 1 Tapu Lele, then I think Fire Energy and Scorched Earth is the way to go. At which point you might want to consider dropping the double colourless, because although it will pay for either of Butterfree's attacks, it won't allow you to use Scorched Earth. And a combination of Scorched Earth and Oranguru, with maybe some Octillery, can get you through in this particular deck. But I still think you need 1 Tapu Lele for the turn 1 Bridget. I don't know if this is going to be the best deck ever, but I do know that it could be made very cheaply, and it could be a competitive budget deck, and for that reason it is worth a play. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. That's where the live action happens. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc., you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.